Rarely at a loss for words, at a June 6th roundtable discussion on what Kamala Harris and her PR team call reproductive healthcare, and with people that the VP labels faith leaders, Harris found it impossible or prohibitively inconvenient to mention the words God and abortion. Of course, in the transcript for her theatrics, she did manage to mention herself 21 times. Hi everyone, I'm Gardner Goldsmith for MRC-TV, and what you just heard wasn't all of the revealing information about Harris and possibly about politics that one can observe in this sad and meaningless stunt. Just her conceited, nonsensical opening tells us a great deal about the entity in which Kamala and her cronies put their faith. I want to thank these extraordinary leaders for being here today for a very important conversation that we will have about the challenges facing our nation, but our collective commitment to address these challenges in a way that inspires hope and optimism and grace and dignity and love. End quote. That's right. It's the collective, or to be more precise, the state, i.e., the coercive political collective that she and her ilk constantly try to portray as a voluntary agency, but which exists and operates only through force, taxation, and the prohibition of free will. The state replaces God, and why not? Among many fundamental and essential prohibitions, God commands that we should not steal or bear false witness or murder. Yet, by its very title and how Harris and her assistants are paid, this meeting and those in the VP's offices promote all three of those sins. Claiming it's reproductive healthcare to take the life of another human being while the baby grows in the womb is, simply put, untrue. Promoting and helping to facilitate the taking of another person's earnings through taxation is to promote or engage in theft. And promoting, or through the polis, helping to pay for abortions is to engage in the promotion of or payment for murder. Yes, it makes sense that Harris never mentioned God and instead replaced faith in him with faith in the lowly, man-centered state. And in a sick irony, she also continued to push the left's tiresome and unfair implication that pro-life, pro-self-defense, small government, libertarian, anti-war, traditionalist Americans are the hateful ones who want to harm others. Quote.
So our discussion today will focus on, I'm sure, a number of issues, but in particular there are two, which is one, what I believe is something that requires all of the leaders at this table, which is what we've been experiencing in terms of what I call an epidemic of hate, where we have seen so many communities who are being targeted, individuals who are being targeted simply because of who they are.
If images of forceps and blood pop into one's mind, you might not be alone. The sheer audacity of inverting those who promote life and those who promote death and aggression is absolutely stunning. And of course, it didn't go unnoticed. As Charlie Spearing notes for Breitbart, quote, "The right of a mother to kill her child in the womb," Harris explained, "should be unfettered by the government and the courts." Quote,
so that conversation, of course, in my mind, is a conversation that requires us to also discuss whether we value the concept of self-determination. The ability of an individual to make decisions about their own life and the future of their life and the choices that will directly impact so many other choices.
But see, Harris isn't opposed to the state on principle. It would be one thing if she quit her job and stood firm against taxing others to pay for cops, courts, wars, bureaucrats, and all the other things that she repeatedly promotes as agents of our protection and betterment. But she wants all those things, especially to protect her, even as she claims that the taking of a baby in the womb is a perfectly acceptable choice and that the government should not get involved. Writing for the Washington Examiner, Heather Hamilton offers more voices to the growing crowd who take offense with Harris's posturing and inversion of morality. Quote, other leaders not in attendance took to social media to react to her comments. Susan B. Anthony, Pro-Life America, noted that the vice president also avoided saying the word abortion. End quote. Indeed, not only did the Susan B. Anthony organization notice this, Hamilton reports that Ken Ham, the CEO and founder of Answers in Genesis, tweeted, quote, Kamala Harris is quoted saying, we need faith in each other, in our nation, and in our future. What we actually need is faith and trust in our Creator, God, and Savior, and to know and believe His Word. But then she would have to give up her support for, yeah, you got it, abortion. Specifically, Harris uses her appearance to fan the flames of misapprehension by portraying a possible Supreme Court overturn of Roe v. Wade as both unconstitutional and as causing a sudden stoppage of abortion. Of course, labeled reproductive health and choice and privacy in her man-based vernacular world. She actually portrayed the promotion of abortion at will, the promotion of murder, as part of this wonderful collective faith.
And how will we then, as those who are guided by our faith, who believe in the best of what we are and who we can be, how will we speak with and talk about the people who are going to be directly impacted by that decision, and how we uplift them in a way that they do not feel alone and without options?
Which brings us to a final observation. In a recent conversation with writer, comedian, actor Russell Brand, author and economics commentator Matt Stoller offered a remark that might resonate with many who see this Harris performance as an in-your-face example of how Western materialists have, for over a century, replaced the belief in God with a cultish embrace of human togetherness and transcendence and purpose through the force of the state. Generally speaking, he said, quote,
when people don't have a metaphysical language to communicate with each other, they create cults. And I think that a lot of the culture warring that you see is imbuing like traditional like sanctification over political figures. Like if you look at Ruth Bader Ginsburg, you know, what people were saying about her was effectively making her a saint.
Stoller's observation is quite valid and quite valuable, but there's more to it than that. The sanctification of the state and of its transient robber in power parade come not only from a godless vacancy people might want to fill by rolling in the state as savior. The state itself pushes out God. From its inception and by its nature, it breaks bonds and continually encroaches. Generation after generation, its occupants work to create new offices, new crises needing material salvation. And that, in their eyes and words, can only be done by the state. Tax thievery, coercion, and sacrificial offerings of innocence don't matter to the statist materialist as long as the government is perpetuated. Man creates an idol called government, and lost generations venerate it, if they even are allowed to survive. The ones who live, the ones who make their money off it, the ones who can promote themselves in their materialist worldview, they will venerate it, just as Harris has done. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Please like and subscribe and share these videos with your friends. You can find us, of course, at MRCTV.org. That's MRCTV.org. And please visit the MRC Store. You can find us on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, in Facebook, and of course on YouTube. And where they don't censor us, you can find our videos on Rumble. I am on Twitter at Gard Goldsmith and on Gab at Gardner Goldsmith. For MRC TV, keep the faith. Thanks for fighting for freedom. I'm Gardner Goldsmith.